Cześć wszystkim. Hello everyone. My name is Michał Brygidyn. I work at Xibia as a cloud security architect. And after hours, I wear a white hat and I'm a security researcher trying to hack into your AWS accounts. Today, I will share my research with you and I will show you how I get admin access on your AWS accounts. There will be a few scenarios, starting with the simplest one, HTML. How to get into AWS account with HTML. And this is very easy, because you just need to check the source code, check HTML comments or JavaScript. This is the example, what I found, it was like 2 years ago. Just the HTML page with a comment with full configuration of AWS profile with access key and secret access key. This page is still online. I'm not sure if credentials still work, but it's still there. It's still in my findings, in results of my Finder script. And it's that easy. Just copy this and you're in. And this was the admin user, and someone just put it there for the next team to pick up and work with the same AWS account. And they even left the information removed before production. But hey, it was just ignored because that's not the place where you should put this kind of information. What went wrong here? That's very easy and stupid. Sensitive data left in the code in a place that it's that easily accessible. But how I found something like HTML comment? There are some tools like Shodan, Census, Binary Edge. These are the most evil search engines because they scan IP by IP, port by port, and index all responses from these ports. So if you use Google, Google will only return results based on visible text. But for these three, Shodan, Census, Binary Edge, you can ask for something that's in headers or in any hidden HTML element. And that way, I can find exactly what I'm looking for, like AWS access key starting with AKIA, and it will give me all results with all from all pages. Second scenario, a bit more complex. It starts with GitHub. Do you guys use GitHub? Okay, who uses public repositories there? Who's not sure if you are using public repositories? Yeah, so it started with a public GitHub repository, and this scenario was a lot easier before May this year, because May this year was a big update on GitHub, and they rebuilt the search engine, and now I don't have my favorite tool there indexed by last found or something like that, because it was the best thing to do there. Give me all AKIA or give me all SMTP Office 365 from last 24 hours. So if you made a mistake just 5 minutes ago, my script was already there and your account was already compromised. But in this scenario, I found a public repository with a config file, but there are many config files with plain text credentials already there. You can see many database username, passwords, and endpoints. You can find SMTP configuration with passwords, emails, etc. And even AWS credentials, but for AWS, there's a tool running by running on AWS that is looking for all leaked AWS keys, almost all. And when they find their key leaked on public repository, they put a policy on your user or role that it's compromised. So when I find it, I cannot do shit there. Going back here, this one more complex because the config file had variables with encrypted values. So, wow, something better, and I need to find a way to crack this encryption. In the same repository, the file next to the config file, there was a Java file called encrypt decrypt something. Okay, interesting. And what's more interesting, the encryption key was hard-coded in the function. I'm not a Java guy, but hey, Google ran Java online, and I'm in. All values decrypted. So I found credentials for SMTP Office 365.com. What's that? That's Office 365 user. And if it's SMTP, it usually means that there's no MFA enforced on that user. So you can just open Office.com and log in. And when you do that, you can see what licenses are available for that user. It can be just Exchange, so Outlook and nothing more, but still you just gain access to someone's inbox and inbox in a domain. But for this user, it was a full license, so for example, Teams. You can open Teams and see the whole organization tree. You can find C-levels, CEO, CTO, and say, hi, and they usually get this message from no reply at their company.com, because that's usually the SMTP user. And that's what I used to do. But then it's not AWS access. So I wanted to dig deeper. And next thing, SharePoint. If you are Office users, you know that if your company uses SharePoint, you can just go to Office.com, log in there, and there's a search bar on top. Try to find USD or Euro or whatever you are interested in, and just check what's there. Usually there are plenty of files from misconfigured groups in SharePoint, in Teams. When you create a group on Teams, it can be either public or private. But public is not fully public, but public in context of the company. But still, if it's a sales team group with all sales information, you just got access there. For me, it was PDF from help desk team with a guide how they installed Jira for that company. They were told to install Jira and to document every single step. And that's what they did. They documented every single step, including creation of admin user with username and password. Thank you for that. Now I just need to find a URL for that Jira, and that wasn't that hard because it was jira.thatcompany.com. And Jira, many projects there. I'm still looking for AWS. So hey, give me a list of all AWS projects in Jira. There were many projects with AWS in name, but there was only one with interesting open ticket. I need IAM user, and IAM user it's a user in someone's AWS account. And we need that user to use outside of AWS, so we need access and secret key. And there was a response, hey, this is your user, this is your access key, this is your secret key. Thank you for that. I just got access to someone's AWS account, and it was admin access because it had administration access policy attached. And it was because someone posted these credentials on Jira, because before that, someone posted credentials for Jira admin on SharePoint, and before that, someone posted config file on GitHub. So what went wrong here? First of all, again, hard-coded sensitive data. There are different ways to feed your app with credentials. There are vaults, there are secrets managers. You don't need to put everything in a file in a repository. There was an attempt to hide this data by encryption, but hey, if you store the encryption key in the same repository in the file next to the encrypted content, it's not a good way of encryption. There's one more thing. Git remembers everything. So sometimes when I'm asked to audit a company and check if they are vulnerable, I try to dig into history of your repositories, because there are many examples of a developer committing and pushing a change, including a password or a config file that shouldn't be there, or AWS credentials, but then they realized, oh, it was a mistake. So what they did, just override the file, push again, no one noticed, we are fine. No, you're not, because Git remembers, so I can just go back in history and see, oh, there is a credential. And yeah, it's not in current version, but it was there, and I can still use it because you thought that nobody noticed, so you didn't rotate it, you didn't change it, so yeah. But tool selection, why they decided to use public repository? It was a help desk team that decided to create a function that will automatically reply to all tickets, because they had some kind of SLA that they need to reply to each ticket in like 2 hours. So they created a script to reply immediately, and they didn't know where to store this, so they decided to use public GitHub repository. And yeah, lack of security awareness, that's a big problem as well, because if the team creating, setting up Jira knew that storing passwords in a guide, in a place accessible by everyone in the company is not a good idea, they wouldn't do that. Next one, who knows Symfony? Okay, I see few hands. Symfony is a PHP framework, and Profiler is a development tool in Symfony that I love. Why? Because this tool, when I have access to this tool, it gives me plain text credentials from server configuration, from environment variables. It gives me the full request history, full history with all requests to your app. And sometimes in some versions I can also check contents of all files in the project because there's a vulnerability in that as well. But here is how it looks. Environment variables, plain text, we can already see AWS credentials here. There's S3 key and S3 secret, but it's only access to Amazon S3, that's file storage. It's interesting sometimes, but it's not admin yet. And this is how the post parameters table looks like for requests to login endpoint. And this is interesting, because we can see login and password in plain text. So this is what I was doing there. I looked for all login requests to that app, and then I found admin credentials. So I logged into that application. It was not non-prod, it was dev.example.com. But I was a developer some time ago, and I still remember that when I was creating something and it was divided into different environments, I used the same username and password on all because, hey, it's my app. So I removed dev from the subdomain and just used example.com. Guess what? It worked. So I just got admin access on the production application. It was some internal app and it had SSO functionality, single sign-on functionality. I was able to just click on every single app there, and I was logged into that app, including CRM, including webmail. CRM, not interesting for me, just some juicy company data. I need AWS access, so webmail. And this webmail was, it was not an inbox for that user, but for it was a shared one for different services. So in that webmail, I was looking for AWS, and I found Trusted Advisor emails. Trusted Advisor is a tool on AWS that tells you that you can save money by buying more stuff or something like that. And it also shows me invoices from AWS. So yeah, there is something there. And this is when I already reported it to the company, and the CTO of the company said, dig deeper and we'll see if our internal policy works and if they catch you. So what next? I decided to try to reset the password for the root user, because if they get the trusted advisor emails and the invoice, maybe that's the root user of the AWS account, so the owner of the account. And this is what I tried to do. I just went to the login portal and hit the reset password link. I put this email, few seconds, I just got the link to reset the password reset. There was no MFA on that account, so I was able to just log into that root user on that AWS account. And guess what? It was not the single account. It was not a standalone account. It was the master payer of the AWS organization. And thanks to that, I just got access to like 50 or 60 accounts there. Because they were not using, they had all features enabled, but they were not using AWS SSO or the Identity Center yet. So I was able to just enable it for them, and that gave me admin access to all their accounts. And going back to the internal policy, it was not working. They didn't find out that I was there, so the CTO decided to stop that, to pay the bounty and move on. What went wrong here? First of all, production data on non-prod. If it's not the full database dump on non-prod, it's just a user, the user table, or just a password reused for admin user. Please don't do that. It helps me a lot, but it will hurt your apps and companies. Then next thing, the shared inbox. It was not only used as inbox for the root user for AWS, but also for Datadog and all other services used by that company. So it gave me access everywhere. There are two things that I want you to remember after my presentation today. And the first one, MFA. Multi-factor authentication. Wherever possible, please enable it and use it and enforce it for your users. Because if there was MFA anywhere here, I wouldn't have this presentation for you. Because MFA stops me, and if I see it, I just drop it and go to the next one from my 300 results. Then, next scenario. Who knows Kubernetes? Who uses Kubernetes? Who knows that your Kubernetes is secure? Okay, this one starts as usual on showdown census or binary edge, where I ask for Kubernetes control planes, give me all open APIs, and there are a lot, like 200 new IPs every week. And when I get access to that, using just a web browser, you can check secrets. These are base 64 encoded, so almost as plain text. You have config maps, and the config maps are just the contents of configuration files on your pods. And you have pods list, so the containers list of what's running on that Kubernetes cluster, with all configurations, annotations, and comments. It looks like that. This is the output of my script, so it's already pre-formatted. And list of pods, we already know what's the namespace, what's the name of the pod running, if it's running or not, for how long. Then we have config maps, and here you can see already email config, some domain here, there are some passwords as well, SMTP configuration, username, password. And secrets. These are already decoded and printed in plain text, DB passwords, and AWS S3 access. And you don't need any tools for that, just a web browser, and you don't need to pay for anything. The tools that I mentioned before, the search engines, are free as well. So anyone can find it. And with that, I found some secrets, as you already saw, like S3 access, and the secrets also had a Jenkins username and password. Jenkins, if you don't use it, is automation server, and it's one that I like very much because it's complex and nobody knows it for 100%. So there is always some kind of misconfiguration. But first we need to get there, and we already have access to Kubernetes API. So easy way, we can forward port 8080 and access someone's Jenkins on our local host port 8080. Or we can just try to kubectl exec bash on that pod and do something there in CLI, or maybe jenkins.yourcompany.com. Oh, it works. So the username and password was valid password, valid user for admin access, and thanks to that, I had access to all workspaces there or all projects. And yeah, first thing, workspaces. Whenever Jenkins tries to build something, it grabs the code from the repository, it creates the workspace for you. And the whole code from the repository is there in that workspace. So I can just go there and see the source code, configuration files, processed data, etc. And from workspaces, you can already get some configuration. It was not admin yet. Then we can go to Jenkins credentials. So you may think that Jenkins credentials sound secure, but it's not, because it's a one-liner that translates the secure phrase from Jenkins credentials to just plain text. So it's easy to reverse all encryption. And then in Jenkins credentials, I found GitHub credentials, but I'm not looking for GitHub, I'm looking for AWS. So the last thing there, just check build logs, console logs, and see if there is anything related to AWS, and it was. It was history of calls for AWS CLI. So if it's AWS CLI, just go back to kubectl exec to the pod, and we have console access to that pod that we already know has AWS CLI installed. So AWS S3LS. Oh yeah, we have access to AWS, and then just try to find out what kind of access. But it returned results for every single call that I made. So yeah, it's admin. What went wrong here? First of all, public resources. I don't know if teams building Kubernetes don't know how subnets work, what's public subnet, what's private subnet, or they just don't give a, they just don't want to do it properly. And there are still many resources that are exposed publicly. With anyone able to access it. There is no firewall on it, there is no security group on it. I don't know why. And because some of these clusters were non-prod only, they were out of scope for penetration testing for some of these companies that I reported to. And they said that, hey, it's non-prod, we are not covering non-prod with pen tests because it's cheaper that way. And thanks to that, I'm in. Next one, disable security features. Sometimes when you install something, there is security enabled by default, but hey, it's only our team working on that, only our team knows the IP, so let's disable everything because nobody will find it. Yeah. And the second thing that I want you to remember from this presentation, principle of least privilege. As a developer, I had a chance to work with new people joining the project, and when they were asking for new privileges, I used to give them admin because, hey, you just get the admin, so you don't ask anymore. But please don't do that, because principle of least privilege says that you should only grant access for a resource on a level that allows the resource to perform its job and nothing more. So don't give admin to everywhere, because thanks to that, if I hack your colleague, I'm in and I'm admin. And there are more scenarios that I decided to create slides 2 years ago, and The slides are still not there, but here we go. Outdated software running on cloud servers like EC2s. This is an example of Jira, but any Atlassian product from 2017, and there are plenty running on these versions still there. They had a bug in OAuth plugin with open proxy vulnerability. So I was able to open this Jira login screen, but then with URL to icon URI, blah, 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 I tried to ask for the instance metadata. EC2 instance metadata is endpoint giving the instance information about itself. So here is your role, here is your IP, etc. But it also gives the access key, secret key, and token for the role for the session for that virtual machine. Then we have admin credentials logged during the installation. When I was asked to audit AWS account for someone, I got read-only access, and with read-only access, I was able to see that there is a Jenkins instance running on EC2s, and there are CloudWatch logs. And the logs also covered the installation of Jenkins, with the last step creation of the admin user for Jenkins. And it was all logged in CloudWatch, and I just had read-only. I was able to grab login and password for Jenkins. Jenkins was exposed publicly. I logged into Jenkins. Jenkins was admin on that account because Jenkins built the whole cloud. And from read-only, I just moved myself to admin. Then we have misconfigured vhosts. When you install Apache or Nginx, you have a default vhost installed there that works for your default web. You need to replace it with your HTML or app. But usually you just don't do that. You create another vhost for your app in a different directory, or the same directory but a bit deeper. And then when I open the server IP, I can see this because it's one level higher than your app. So instead of being in web root, I'm here and I can just open file .env file or any other file that's not interpreted or processed by server. Then we have debug pages, and this example, Python Django. Python Django is doing a great job masking almost all sensitive information. Whenever they see a key in the name of the variable, they mask this. The same for passwords. But then we can go to salary broker URL that consists of the information about the queue, SQS, that's AWS service, and then AWS access key and AWS secret access key. And when I found this and a lot similar like that, they all gave me more than just access to this queue. Sometimes even admin access. And that's all from that presentation. A quick teaser for the next one, because the first presentation was about getting in, but now I want to stay there forever. So backdoor ideas for you. There are different groups of backdoors for IAM. I can just stick to your IAM users, create another set of credentials, or create another user. I can modify Trust Policy to access your roles from my accounts or from other hacked accounts. I can create a new identity provider to feed your AWS account with my users from somewhere. Then I can create a new EC2 in your account with public access, SSH access, and give it a role so I still have access there. Or I can create a local user on your existing EC2 with SSH access and use what is already there. Then we have network access. It's not maybe not giving me the console access or API access, but It gives me access to your network. I can modify security group rules, firewall rules, allowing me to access your network, your resources protected only by a single rule in firewall. Or I can peer your VPC with my VPC or my other hacked VPC, and thanks to that, I can access your network through other network. The same with transit gateway. That's a bit better peering. And the last one, services. You don't use AWS SSO. Thanks for that. I can use it for you, and thanks to that, I will have access to all your accounts. And you will not even know because it's not interfering with your current access to AWS. Code pipeline, this is the automation tool on AWS. You don't use it, so I can use it. I can integrate it with my GitHub repository. Wherever I push a change to my Terraform in my GitHub repository, it will trigger the code pipeline, code build, and it will rebuild my backdoors on your account. And Lambda function URL, if I want to trigger something on your account, I can create Lambda with public URL, and anytime I trigger that URL, it will do something like rebuild my backdoors on your account. But let's say you find out that there is a backdoor and you removed it. So let's use Event Bridge to restore the backdoor whenever it sees that there was deletion process in CloudTrail. Or step functions running forever, triggering Lambda, rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding. Same for cron on your EC2s. And I can also check CloudTrail with some Lambda and rebuild it whenever you delete something. And how to not be found easily. Instead of using administrator access policy, that's a red flag for all security tools on AWS, I just use power user plus IAM full. That's exactly the same as admin access, but it's not that easily flagged. Same context. When I hack into your EC2 and I extract the session credentials, I don't use it from my Mac, I use it from the EC2, because when I use it from my Mac, guard duty will flag it and will say, hey, someone is using it out of the context. And office hours. Usually when bad guys are hacking your companies, they are doing it Friday evening or during the weekend. I do it in office hours because I know what I'm doing, and my one API call will be lost in tons of your valid API calls. Thank you.